Dinosaur Adventure Land in Lenox, Alabama. We are getting way behind on the atheists that need to be whacked, so tonight's going to be Whacking Atheist Tuesday. And another one tomorrow night, Whacking Atheist Wednesday. We might have to go every day, a couple times a day. You guys keep saying dumb stuff like you believe you came from a rock. Dinosaurs lived millions of years ago. That's baloney. And dinosaurs turned to birds. That's incredibly stupid. Anyway, we're going to try to knock some sense into them tonight. Pseudo-SciMan Dan. You did it again, son. We debated you once. I'll do it anytime. Take you on anytime. Bring it on, okay? Here we are, December the 6th, 2022. If I'd have known I was going to live this long, I'd have eaten more ice cream. Okay, the Bible clearly says in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth. And if you say anything other than that, you're calling God a liar, which is your business for now. He'll take over one of these days when he's the judge. Dinosaurs always lived with man. They did not live millions of years ago. And evolution is the dumbest and most dangerous religion in the world. Never been a dumber idea. The Bible says the fool said in his heart, there's no God. It's hard to believe anybody with a brain could think that an osprey came from an amoeba, which came from a rock, which came from a dot of nothing exploding. You guys are certifiably stupid. There's no kinder word to say, just plain dumb. Join us for Christmas dinner, Christmas Day, December 25th. Come on down, bring your family. I'll take you in for Dinosaur Adventure Land. Okay, we have visitors coming all the time. And I gave a tour today, loved it. Let me get over to where I want to go on Dan. Here he is. SciMan Dan. Pseudo-SciMan Dan. Ready? Take it away, Dan. And then we're going to stop once in a while, let Damien come up and defend himself when Pseudo-SciMan says something dumb. Ready? Go for it, SciMan.
Back to today's video, which, as I stated at the start, we're taking a look at the Science Centre at Kent Hovind's Dinosaur Adventure Land. We start with a video from the Science Centre tour guide Damien, who's going to talk to us all about how dinosaurs used to live with humans.
Welcome to Dinosaur Adventure Land. This is the Science Center, day 6, where we go over the dinosaurs. So we've got some interesting things here. Here's a picture of fossilized dinosaur skin. You'll notice the circles in the skin of the dinosaurs. These are ichthyostones from Peru, over 1,000 years old. They depict dinosaurs on the stones, and you can actually see the circles in the skin of those dinosaurs. Interesting.
Ah, the ichthyostones. Ancient stones discovered by a farmer who went on to admit that he actually carved some of them himself.
Stop right there, Dan, okay? Your listeners are going to fall for this baloney spewing out of your mouth. They've known about the ichthyostones for hundreds of years, okay? The people who were finding them were selling them when they realized, wow, people want to buy these things. Some farmers, entrepreneurial farmers, made some. It's really easy to tell the fakes from the real ones, okay? You need to contact Dennis Swift in Beaverton, Oregon. He has been down there, probably knows more about it than anybody, way more about it than you do, okay? And has studied them intently. The people have discovered these ichthyostones in the scratches where they were carved, the dinosaurs, had a patina over them that would take hundreds of years to develop this patina. So don't just give one statement and discount all of them and say, oh, now we don't have to talk about that anymore. Yes, you do. Okay. First place, Dan, your position is clearly calling God a liar and calling Jesus a liar, which you're welcome to do for now. Jesus said the creation of Adam was the beginning. Was he lying? Are you smarter than him? The Bible clearly says nothing died until Adam sinned. Did dinosaurs die before man got here, Dan? If you believe that, you're saying the Bible is wrong, which you're welcome to do for now. 10 Commandments, God wrote on a rock with his finger. He made everything in 6 days. You calling him a liar, Dan? You are. I'm just preacher from the Lord telling you you're in trouble, son. You're calling God a liar. Let your workers know, hey, God, you tell all your followers, I think God lied. I think the Bible's baloney. Go ahead and tell them that, okay? I want to see how that holds up for you Judgment Day. That's what you're doing. Now, I have the ichthyostones, I am firmly convinced, are genuine and legitimate. They carved dinosaurs, some that did not even know exist till they find fossils later. So the ichthyostones, there are some fakes, but that doesn't discount all of them, okay? There are fake $100 bills, too. Did you know that? That's a bad example, because all of them are fake. Federal government just prints them, but you know what I'm talking about, okay? Counterfeit. So, Damien, you want to say anything about the ichthyostones?
Sure.
Okay, take the screen down, Randall. All right. You studied this quite a bit. You gave the tour.
All right. Well, we have Dennis Swift's book in our bookstore, Secrets of the Ichthyostones and the Nazca Lines. A very fascinating topic.
For sale, right?
Yes.
Can somebody go grab one real quick in the bookstore?
It's right in the bookstore. It should be simple to find. But he'll come up. There's always a mainstream excuse when you're going over this evidence. That's why our tours take so long. You'll notice that this guy's videos, they're what, like 8 minutes, 10 minutes?
Yeah.
And he'll just say, oh, it's debunked. And he'll just completely move on. How has it been debunked? Can you go over the details of why this is not true? Okay, there is an explanation. It is illegal in Peru to sell artifacts like that. So the farmer who was selling them, there were 2 police officers just waiting when they were doing a TV special interviewing this guy. And he said, I don't sell them. Oh, I just make them. And then he's carving them in his room. Because in Peru, if you go to jail, they don't feed you. So if you're in jail for a year and nobody's going to go feed you, well, that's a death sentence. So there's a lot more reasons why somebody would claim it's fake because they don't want to go to jail.
Well, and the reason Dan claims it's fake is because it goes against his religion. Evolution is a religion, Dan. You've already got settled in. You believe the earth is billions of years old. Dinosaurs lived millions of years ago. You can get the book for yourself about the Ichthyostones. How much is it?
It's about $12.
$12. Call 855 BIG-DINO, extension 1. Okay, what else about the Ichthyostones before we let Dan blabber on here?
That's basically, Dr. Hovind has kind of given the more in-depth explanation as to why they know that these stones are so old. They've known about them for hundreds of years. Again, you can get, if you really want to know the details,
he doesn't want to know the details. Okay?
Exactly.
He has to discredit every evidence you give because if dinosaurs lived with man, what would that do to the evolutionist thinking and mindset, their worldview?
Right out the window.
And it should go out the window. It's dumb, Dan. Real dumb, okay? You're real dumb. The earth is 6,000 years old, roughly, according to the Bible. You're calling Jesus a liar. That's what you're doing. Let me play some more Dan here. Wait right there, brother. Put him back up, Randy.
This one isn't going to fly, Damien. Moving on.
How did they know about dinosaurs 1,000 years ago? We only started piecing the bones together in the 1800s. How did they know? How did they know specifically what the skin looked like?
I just said, matey, because a farmer faked them.
We can compare that skin to other reptiles here. We can see the circles in their skin. You got the Draco flying lizards. The reptiles never stop growing throughout their lifetimes. On day 2, we go over Dr. Hovind's canopy theory. If there was an ice canopy that encapsulated the world when God...
Well, before we get into that, you're talking in our science center, which is 12,000 square foot. It's all about the 7 days of creation. There's a whole room full of experiments about day 1, let there be light. Experiments about light, magnetism, gravity, etc. Day 2, about the air in our hyperbaric chamber. We talk about the dinosaurs when God made all the animals on the same day. Anything else on the dinosaurs? You're going to show this. He's going to laugh at that in just a minute.
Well, let him laugh and then we'll talk about it.
So the ice canopy theory, we'll get into that in a minute, Dan. You're calling God a liar. He says there was water above the firmament. What does that mean? Well, I'll show you the Bible verses and then let you call God a liar. You were forecast, Dan, 2,000 years ago in 2 Peter chapter 3. The Bible says there would be scoffers in England named Dan who would be willingly ignorant of the creation, the flood, and the coming judgment. I added the part about Dan. Go ahead. Dan, take it away.
Originally created it, it's likely that we had more oxygen and more air pressure.
The ice canopy theory. Kent Hovind believes that when God first created the Earth, he did so with an enormous big canopy of ice covering the entire planet.
We actually find the proof of this in fossilized amber with the air bubbles that have 32% oxygen in them. We're only breathing in 21%, so that's 50% more oxygen.
Well, yes, there was more oxygen in prehistoric times than there is today. And there are...
Dan, there is no such thing as prehistoric. We have history from the first instant. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Written history. There's no such thing as prehistoric, Dan. No such thing.
A variety of reasons for that, of course. But it would be interesting to see how Damien makes allowances for that.
So if the reptiles had 50% more oxygen under greater air pressure, they would be growing much, much bigger. They would live a lot longer.
Well, this was around 350 million years ago.
And how do you know that, Dan? How do you know that? All of the layers of rock that we see in what the so-called fake geologic column formed at the same time in 1 year, less than a year. We covered that a couple nights ago on our Whackin' Atheist. Layers form horizontally with the tide pumping up and down and running in and out. The layers do not form vertically. If the top layer is younger, Dan, very simple question, where did it come from? How can the layer on top be younger? Where is it coming from, Dan? Outer space? Come on, you atheists never answer that. Where all the layers formed in 1 year, but the scoffers are ignorant. We covered the geologic column, the non-existent geologic column, very thoroughly a couple of weeks ago on our program here. So let me explain what I'm talking about, the canopy, since Dan's going to, I'll let him finish making fun of it, then I'm going to switch over to those slides.
The largest dinosaur that ever lived, the Titanosaur, did so between 145 and 66 million years ago.
And how do you know that? Based on the layers it is found in. How do you know the age of the layers? Based on the fossils they find in them. How do you know the age of the fossils? Well, it's based on the age of the layers. You date the fossils by the layers and the layers by the fossils. It's dumb, Dan, real dumb. Stop and rethink, okay? It's not scientific to say it's 65 million years ago. It's religious. You believe that. You cannot possibly prove such a thing.
Now, at that point in time, the oxygen levels in the atmosphere were far lower than the 35% that you just claimed.
So he knows what the oxygen was 65 million years ago. But probably doesn't know what happened 800 years ago in his country on today's date. Do you, Dan? Check it out.
Here we've got one of Dr. Hovind's longevity charts here. People living before the flood into their 900s, floods happening here, and you see how the ages drop off rapidly after the flood.
Oh, the global flood that there is no evidence for.
There's no evidence for a global flood. Boy, Dan, Peter prophesied about you perfectly. He said the scoffers at the end time would be willingly ignorant. In the Greek, that means dumb on purpose, okay? Willingly ignorant of the creation and the flood. What was that creation like? The canopy overhead. You're ignorant of that, Dan. And the flood that destroyed everything. No evidence for a flood? Have you ever studied any earth science at all? Why is the whole world covered in layers of sedimentary rock? Why are there billions of fossils laid down in mud layers that turned to stone all over the earth? There was a flood, Dan. You need to watch my video number 6 on my seminar series. Get that whole series, $50. Get 3 of them, 3 sets for $100. Give them out for Christmas presents. A few more seconds. Damien, if you want to interject here, let me know, okay? Let him blabber. Have you seen?
Well, I haven't seen the whole video, but you notice every time he stops, he just says, oh, that's not true.
And goes on, yeah.
He offers no explanation. There's no in-depth analysis on like why this is not true or why what he believes is true. He just says, it's not true.
And his followers, oh, yes, master, don't beat me, master, I'll be good. Yeah, it's true, okay. Hey, King SciMan said it's got to be true. SciMan, I will debate you any time. Call Standing for Truth. Get all the helpers you want. You are confused. You are lying, Dan. You are calling God a liar. You're in trouble. I want to help you. You're not my enemy, okay? You are working for the enemy, the devil, by teaching this idiocy that there was no flood and the earth is billions of years old. That's insane. I'll debate you and all of your followers anytime.
And the 900-year-old people, which again, there's no evidence for.
Dan, there are stories from all over the world of what's called the Golden Age. Google Golden Age. Why do different countries all over the world have a legend of a time when man used to live to be 1,000?
And the flood.
And the flood. Why do they have all these legends from all over the world? What do you mean there's no evidence? What kind of evidence do you want? Do you want a 900-year-old man to walk into your office and say hi? Is that what you need?
That's what they want.
Well, certainly the Bible says there were. You read Genesis chapter 5. So you're saying God's lying. Secondly, there are Golden Age legends from all over the world. What was that? Just imaginary? What about the giant skeletons that have been found? That's been covered many times. Let Dan blabber for a minute, and he fires me up sweetly in Christian love. Okay.
Great. Good stuff, Damien.
Look at that. He just dismissed it with no evidence. He said, well, there's no flood. Great stuff, Damien. Nope. Moves right on. Dan, can you prove to your audience there was no global flood? There's plenty of water out there to cover the world, you know. People say, where'd all that water go? It's in the oceans. They're huge. There's enough water out there now to cover the earth 1.5 miles deep everywhere if the earth were smoother. Yeah. What do you mean no global flood? Of course there was a global flood. Certainly the Bible says there was. Jesus believed in it. He mentioned Noah. So you're calling God a liar. I feel burdened to warn you about that. It's not going to go well for you when you face God.
Well, it says during the flood, the fountains of the deep broke open. So if the crust of the earth was one solid piece before that flood, imagine all the pressure built up under the crust. If all of a sudden it gets released with enough force, it might be shooting rocks up into the atmosphere. If that ice canopy's there, it would shatter. All the super cold ice being magnetic would have been drawn to the poles. You get your polar ice caps.
I think you're
I'm sorry, let him talk. I'm sorry.
confusing regular ice with superconducting magnets.
Super cold ice. See, Dan, listen, I know you're a Sci-Man. Outer space is nearly absolute zero, almost 0 degrees Kelvin, okay? Minus 273 centigrade, minus 459.6 Fahrenheit, however you want it, okay? It's cold. Outer space is cold. The Earth is warmer than that, okay? Let me do some model of the world, okay? You have a layer of air over the Earth, today averaging maybe 20, 30, 40 miles thick. It varies greatly, okay? If there was a canopy of ice, a couple inches thick overhead, which all the ancients talked about, there was something that made them live to be 900, and that ice could have been held up by the magnetic field or held up by air pressure like a simple inflatable building, okay? But it shattered, and it wouldn't come down in big chunks of ice. It would be shattered, pulverized. It would snow, rapid snowfall. We'll get into that in just a minute.
Which need to be really, really cold. But that is a pretty wild stretch all the same, isn't it?
You don't think it's a wild stretch to think the whole planet fit inside a dot smaller than a proton? That's not a wild stretch?
They talk about this evidence that, I mean, he's got a seminar series that's about 18 hours, if not more, just laying down evidence after evidence after evidence. And this guy just skips through it in 10 seconds, say it's not true, and that sounds ridiculous. Where's his explanation?
I'd like to see it.
What they believe is totally insane. Insane what they believe. And the explanations that they come up with for these beliefs are just messed in the magic of time. It happened billions and millions of years ago, guys. We don't know exactly how it happened, but we know that it did happen, and it was millions and billions of years ago.
Yeah, they know that. Yeah.
They know that.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I mean, come on.
They find mammoths frozen, standing up, with food still in their mouth. How do you freeze a mammoth so fast he can't even finish chewing? Well, he could have been buried in ice from the canopy shattering.
Crushed by ice, not...
It has to be big chunks of ice, doesn't it, Dan? You can't even think of any other option than to ridicule the Bible. Don't you think if there was a canopy of ice, a couple inches thick, 10 miles up, and it was shattered by rocks coming up from the ground, maybe when the fountains of the deep broke open, that it would come down as rapid? How about a rapid snowfall? You got to have a big chunk of ice fall. Would a rapid snowfall bury a mammoth standing up? Would a rapid snowfall of snow that's minus, say, 459 Fahrenheit or 458.1 Fahrenheit, would that bury the mammoth standing up and suffocate him and freeze him standing up with food still in his mouth? Freeze him in minutes? Yeah. Rich?
It's impossible to get large chunks of ice falling from that distance. Just the friction of the atmosphere as it falls through.
Yeah, falling from that distance, it would pulverize to smaller and smaller chunks. It would end up, do it, Dan. Try to shoot an ice ball out of a cannon. Watch what happens. It will come out pulverized, okay? At a certain velocity, it automatically comes apart. But you got to make fun of it, don't you, Dan, for now?
Buried. To be buried in ice, usually you would have to be within the water before it freezes. Now,
that's the only thought. It has to be water first. Dan, ice can exist. There's a bunch of ice at the North and South Pole now. But if the ice was overhead and shattered, it would snow down and not ever be water. Bury them standing up in snowbank. You ever been up north where they have snow, Dan? I was up in Alaska where the snow gets really deep, okay? So a deep snowbank of super cold ice would suffocate. And by the way, the mammoths are suffocated. No water found in the lungs. Google that, Dan.
Now, this magical mammoth just so happens to be able to withstand huge chunks of ice falling on top of him, all while staying up, standing, and keeping food in his mouth. Absolutely incredible animal.
Dan?
Who said it was big chunks?
He did.
Nobody said it was big chunks. He said it was big chunks.
Let's go real slow so maybe Dan can get it. Dan, are mammoths found dead in standing up, frozen, not fossilized, frozen mammoths? Are frozen mammoths found anywhere on the earth? I'll answer for you in case you can't Google it. Yes, there are, okay? Frozen mammoths have been found standing up with food still in their mouth. What's your answer, Dan? How did this happen? Do a YouTube on that, Dan. I want to hear it. How did the mammoths, how did they freeze standing up with food still in their mouth and no water in their lungs? They did not drown. How did that happen, Dan? You give your answer.
If the canopy shattered, the air would spread out, less concentration of oxygen, less air pressure. We're not getting shielded from UV radiation we're soaking in from the sun anymore. We're aging a lot faster as a result of what happened during Noah's flood. The reptiles aren't growing as big as they used to. Here we've got a Jackson chameleon. He's got the 3 horns, the ridge behind the horns. You can take a good look at his skin. You can see the similarities there between the dinosaurs. Now,
well, chameleons did evolve shortly after the end of the dinosaurs.
Oh, just make it up. Chameleons evolved after the dinosaurs. Just believe him, folks. Don't you dare question SciMan Dan. Don't. Dan, listen to me. Nothing evolves. No animals ever produce babies other than their own kind, ever. Cows produce cows, okay? Dogs produce dogs. There are no exceptions. You guys got your stupid family tree with everything going back to an amoeba or paramecium or something. Dan, nothing evolves. There is no evidence for it. If you think there is, show me. Come to Standing for Truth channel. We've been trying for how long now? How many debates have I done on there? Got 4 more this month. I'll take you on, Dan, with 3/4 of my brain tied behind my back, okay? The Jackson chameleon is an example of a very small lizard that if it kept growing forever, you probably would classify as a dinosaur. We do know, Dan, reptiles never stop growing. Google that, okay? If the reptile never stopped growing, listen to me, it's going to get complicated, it would get bigger, okay? At some point, it would get really big. At what point do you call it a dinosaur? Do you know what the word dinosaur means? Terrible lizard. That's what the word means. Dinosaur, made up in 1841. Anyway, anything else, Damien?
I mean, again, just take a look at a Jackson chameleon. Google some pictures of it. The similarities between that and a triceratops, if you just scaled it up, seems pretty self-evident.
But they are so determined to protect their religion of evolution, they can't allow this to be true. They can't allow it.
Right, just like all the soft tissue they're finding.
Soft tissue dinosaurs. How many have been found now? Many. They got to have an answer. You will not think outside the box of millions of years ago. Whatever answer you come up with, it has to match the stupid teaching for the last 100 years or so about dinosaurs. You're not allowed. That's what hinders the advancement of science. It's morons that can't think outside the box. Well, maybe our whole theory is wrong. Yeah, that's happened many times to science. That's good for it. Good for it, Dan.
Around 65 million years ago, so it's no surprise.
if he kept on growing and got to a big size, what do you think you'd call him? Could be a little triceratops right there in the jar.
Well, no, because it's a chameleon, isn't it? Not a dinosaur. You end up having a giant chameleon.
Tell you what, I don't know how to help this guy, but the dinosaurs are all giant lizards in the reptile family, Dan, called reptile. Okay?
He's saying dinosaur, it's lizard, okay? Means terrible lizard.
He doesn't get it.
So the reptiles are not growing as big as they used to. What about the veiled chameleon? Doesn't he look like a little dinosaur? Fascinating. Could be a parasaur. Oh, there's an example for you that we might still even be living with these dinosaurs today. They're just not as big as they used to get before the flood.
We are all living with dinosaurs today. Lots of them.
Dan, if you think dinosaurs turned to birds, okay, don't drive a car on the highway. Get somebody else to babysit you, okay? You guys that are
He's
teaching...
got an owl in there. Come on.
Dinosaurs turned to birds. One of the dumbest theories ever in the history of the world. You guys are insane. Yep, Rich?
Did you say 3 minutes ago that dinosaurs evolved into chameleons and now it's saying they're birds? Which one is it?
I don't know how to help them. All of you evolutionists that think dinosaurs turned to birds, I know that's what your masters told you to believe, and I know you have to toe the party line. I understand. Think outside the box. Nobody's ever seen any bird produce a non-bird baby. Nobody's ever seen a reptile produce a non-reptile baby. If you wish to believe long ago and far away they magically changed and grew feathers and learned to fly, you are certifiably insane. Okay, I'll debate all of you same time.
Well, we have in our bookstore the Evolution Handbook, and if you guys have never read about these evolutionists and when they have their little meetings, it's hilarious. They sit in there, and some of them, they don't even believe in evolution. Some of them, or they don't believe in the stages of evolution because they know that there's no evidence for it. So what they'll do is, I think it's called the magic monster theory. They believe that a reptile laid an egg and a bird flew out of it. They skip the process entirely, and this is what they talk about in their little meetings that they have. So.
And who did that first one, Mary?
You're not allowed to go into detail about this stuff. It just happened.
Okay.
And it was millions of years ago.
Oh, yeah. Long ago and far away.
Yes.
A lot of fairy tales start that way. Evolution's another fairy tale.
Absolutely.
There's the proof, folks. Dan shows a picture of birds. What else can you need? That's proof.
Visit Dinosaur Adventure Land. Come take the Science Center tour where we go over a lot more details about some of the dinosaurs that are alive today. Thanks for joining us. God bless.
There is nothing more that I would like than to come to Dinosaur Adventure Land and have a Science Center tour.
All right.
Hey, man, come on,
Awesome.
Dan. Come on. I'll give you the real tour myself, okay?
Let's move on that, Damien. Now, let's move on to Mr. Kent.
Well, before we do, he is claiming that he does not believe dinosaurs lived with man. Dinosaurs lived millions of years ago. Just so you know, Dan, what you're saying is completely against the Bible. It's against what Jesus said. It's against what the evidence shows. Now, you really want to take that to the grave. Okay, anything else, Damien?
Well, again, just go through the video. You will notice that most of the video is either the Science Center tour or whenever he is, go against anything that we're promoting here. There's a lot of, us are explaining why this is and this things that are happening biblically and stuff like that. Whereas he just says, that's not true.
Yeah, that's his answer. It's not true.
Just walks by it. That's not true. Millions of years, and then he just walks by it.
All right. Well, thank you, brother. See people to come take the tour.
Come visit.
Amen. It's free. What do you want? Free, Dan. Okay, let me finish. Now he's going to pick on me. And Dan, I assure you, you are biting off way more than you can chew. Okay? I've walked over bigger guys than you getting to the fight. Mm-hmm. Are you ready?
Hovind himself, who is giving an example of the normal tour he takes of Dinosaur Adventure Land, where he stops off on the tour to give a little talk about frogs.
One of the places we stop on the real tour we take at Dinosaur Adventure Land is right here by the fence, where I ask all the kids with me on the tour, or the adults, what is this thing right here? And almost always they say, a frog.
Well, yes, it does look like a frog, I guess so.
I say, no, look at it again. That's a frog. No, kids, that's a stuffed animal.
No, it's not a stuffed animal if you're going to be pedantic, Kent. It's a stuffed toy. Good try, though.
Nobody with half a brain cell functioning would think that this thing made itself.
Okay, what's that got to do with anything?
Did somebody make this, or did it make itself? Duh, somebody made it. This is a stuffed animal. Now, it looks like a frog. Everybody would agree this thing had a creator. But they look at a real frog and say, nobody made it. The real frog made itself over millions of years. The real frog has a circulatory system, a digestive system, a reproductive system, a integumentary system, a skeletal system, a nervous system. I think it was designed.
Yet we have evidence that the first frogs existed over 250 million years ago.
There you go. Just make a statement. My battery's about to die on my laptop. We're going to have to finish this tomorrow night. We'll finish the Whackin' Atheist, okay? SciMan Dan, you're crazy. Okay? We love you. We want to help you. Come take the tour at Dinosaur Adventure Land. Dinosaurs lived with man all through history. I say it just about every broadcast. And you are lying to your followers, and they're believing you. Until Adam sinned. See, the Bible teaches clearly God made a perfect world, man wrecked it. Man brought death into the world. In your religion, death brought man into the world. Billions and trillions of things have to die, evolve a little bit, produce babies, and die. Evolve a little more, produce babies, die. Billions of things have to die to slowly become man. This is Satan's lie from the Garden of Eden. He said, Eve, you eat off that tree, you shall be as gods. That's what your religion teaches, Dan, and evolution is nothing but a religion. There is no genetic column, there is no fossil record, there is no evidence of any plant or animal ever producing babies other than its kind. You think you got some? I'll debate you and all the atheists in the world combined at the same time. I get half the time, one topic at a time. Where is the best evidence for why you would believe you came from a protozoa or an amoeba or a bacteria or paramecium? Why would anybody with a single functioning brain cell believe something so dumb? And you think a Jackson chameleon can't slowly get bigger and bigger, and everybody would say, oh, wow, that's now a dinosaur. I don't know where the borderline is when it becomes dinosaur, but yet you believe the whole world fit in a dot smaller than a period. Do you ever stop and think what you believe? Dan, we're here to help you, okay? You need whacked really bad. I'm trying to help you. Get ready for Judgment Day. I'm going to stand before God and say, Lord, I tried. He wouldn't listen. I tried, okay? Or come, why don't you listen? Give your heart to Jesus Christ. Get saved. Say, man, the Bible's true. It'll hit you in 2 stages, Dan. After you really study the evidence, you're going to say, wow, the Bible's true. Then about a week later, it's going to be, oh, no, the Bible's true. I better call Brother Hovind and get my heart right with God. How do I do it? Brother Hovind, help me. Lead me. I will guide you through the scriptures over the phone in Old English, okay, for your over there in England, and let you give your heart to Jesus Christ and get saved. He loves you, but he's going to be your judge one day, and what you're doing is dangerous for your health in the future. I hate that. All right, any questions or comments?
Yes, sir.
Do dinosaurs have hollow bones? Good question. Oh, I'm reading the wrong one here. Do reptiles get jealous of birds taking all the credit for being dinosaurs? I don't know how to even find out the answer to that one. How would you find out? That's a good one. I like that. As far as hollow bones, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, humans have hollow bones. Hollow bones is by having a spongy network inside that's a solid sponge sort of way, it makes it lighter and stronger. Okay? The strength is, if it was just solid, it would snap easy. It has to be both flexible and strong and stiff to hold the weight up. So I would guess they had hollow bones, and it'd be designed to be that way. Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Come visit Dinosaur Adventure Land in Lenox, Alabama. Tell your friends about it. Share these videos with your friends so they can subscribe to our channel. If you want to come support us, go to drdino.com. I like what you're doing. I'm going to help keep you going. We're open for free. It ain't free to run the place, but it's free for people to come visit, okay? Got some visitors coming in tonight. Got to get them a place to stay. All right, see you tomorrow.